there, you're live on Tigray television. I am Salome Tigray, and here are today's news. Northern region of Ethio Telecom says it is waiting for instructions from the head office in Addis Ababa to restore services. CEO of the northern region stated that preparations on their side have been completed. The CEO, however, said significant maintenance for many Ethio Telecom centers across Tigray is required to resume full-scale services. Abra Gabratinsay has more.
Ethio Telecom Northern Region, based in Mekelle, the capital of Tigray, was the second largest service provider and income generator in Ethiopia, next to Addis Ababa, according to Tesfahan Ebush, interim CEO of the region. He also said Ethio Telecom has lost its second great profit after the war, as communication services have been cut off in the region.
ዝርጅናትና በጣዕሚ ተጠቃማይ ካብ ዝበዝሕዎ ርጅናት ብናይ ኢትዮ ቴሌኮም ኣወዳድባ ወኣቕራ ብዙሕ ግልጋሎት ካብ ዝጥቀሙ ርጅን እዚ ሓደ እዩ ነይሩ።
Our region was one of the largest service providers in Ethiopia. It was the second largest service provider and income generator in Ethiopia next to Addis Ababa. Telecommunication service users in both rural and urban areas had increased greatly before the eruption of the war.
Other management staff members in Ethio Telecom Northern Region also said that their company has lost dearly over the past 2 years as its service provision has been hampered due to the war in Tigray.
My name is Misgina Gabraselasi. I am Institutional Customer Service Officer. We use it to collect more than 20 million revenue on annual basis exclusively on the Institutional Customer Service Department, providing broadband internet and data service for different institutions including banks and other companies. However, for the past 2 years, we were unable to provide services to our customers due to the war, and we have collected no income at all.
شمي تصقاي برهب بحال إتي تيليكوم ريجن سمين أنا indirect channel manager.
I'm called Tigray Barha and I'm indirect channel manager at Ethio Telecom Northern Region. We used to provide direct and indirect services to our customers before the war. Through indirect channel, we were reaching out our customers via partners, both wholesalers and retailers. We had 10 wholesalers and 142 sub-wholesaler partners with more than 30,000 retailers before the war. And we used to earn more than 3 billion birr, which we couldn't be able to get over the past 2 years. All our partners have also been out of job and had endured huge economic crisis.
The management of Ethio Telecom Northern Region also said that they are optimistic about the peace deal signed in South Africa and they remain on standby to resume services to customers awaiting directions from the main office in Addis Ababa to recommence their services.
ከም ርጅን ትናይ ውዕሊ ናይ ፕሪቶሪያ ዝተገበረን ናይ ሰላም ውዕል ስምምዕነት ንሱ ኣብ ተግባር ክሳብ ዝውዕል ንጽበይና ዘለና.
As a region, we are waiting for the peace deal signed in South Africa to be implemented. We are waiting for directions from the main office in Addis Ababa. Our employees are visiting the office on daily basis, hoping that there would be good news from Addis Ababa. There is nothing we can do on our own. What needs to be done can only be done based on directions from the federal government for services to be resumed. Restoration of telecom service is among the deals the peace accord covered, and we hope for it soon to be done. Our preparation is in place in our part.
We all appreciate the transition from war to peace. Many have been affected negatively by this war. Peace would restore our lives. Children would go back to school. People will earn income. And we are hopeful that this peace deal will be fully implemented so that we can all get back to our jobs and resume our service provision. We are ready.
Meanwhile, the interim CEO said necessary maintenance services are demanded if Ethio Telecom would begin rendering full-scale service as huge damage has been inflicted to its centers during the 2-year-long war in Tigray.
ሙሉእ ግልጋሎት ክንጅምር ተኮይና ኣብ ትግራይ ወሳናይ ዝኾነ ስፍሕ ዝበለ ናይ ጽገና ስራሕቲ ክንሰርሕ ይግብአና ማለት እዩ.
If we have to begin full-scale telecom service in Tigray, we would be demanded to make necessary maintenance as significant damage has been inflicted to them. Even in the centers which were not damaged, substantial maintenance service is needed as poles have fallen and wires have been cut off. But there are some areas that can begin service immediately.
Mekelle Alula Airport says it is ready to resume flights. The CEO says the airport is in a place where it can start services, but the head office in Addis Ababa is yet to make contact with them. Commercial flights have been terminated since June of 2021. Ethiopian Airlines also announced last week that it was waiting for instructions from the federal government to restart flights. Sablor Kalama has more on this.
Traveling from and to Tigray almost has been impossible since the start of the war in November of 2020, as all the transportation systems, including aviation, have been terminated. However, there is now a glimmer of hope with regard to transportation, since the peace agreement was signed in Pretoria between the governments of Tigray and Ethiopia. Gabriel Johannes Walde Gabriel, CEO of Ethiopian Airlines Maqala branch, says that they are hopeful the peace deal will bring safety and security necessary for them to resume services that the people have been long awaiting for.
Peace is very important for everything, especially for aviation. Air transport primarily requires safety and security, and we need peace to achieve that. No peace means no safety and security. Therefore, peace is very important to us. We absolutely accept the peace agreement because it brought something useful for our work. Our staff members who heard the news are so happy. They told us that they are more dedicated than ever to work and serve their people, and we are ready to provide everything necessary.
He also says that it would benefit all actors, including Ethiopian Airlines, to start operating in Tigray, as many people continue to request for the restoration of aviation services.
The peace agreement signed in Pretoria is very important for us. Japan Airlines will definitely benefit from this because we have customers as the business people, students, NGO workers, and so many more members of the society waiting patiently. Many customers are asking when we will start working and when flight begins.
Gabriel Hannes finally says despite the promises from the Ethiopian government that aviation services would be restored, they haven't seen anything in practice as contact remains constrained with the main district of the airlines. He also added that they are ready to start passenger services but need technical support to start their cargo services.
So far, we have no connection with the main district. We haven't connected them since the beginning of the war. But we heard on the media where Mesfin Tasso, CEO of the Ethiopian Airlines, said that flight should start to Tigray. This is remarkable. We are more than ready to start our work. They can check if there are things missing. We use it to provide passenger service and cargo service. We have no problem of starting passenger service, but we have some machinery damage in the cargo service. So we need experts to either fix it or replace it. Other than that, we are ready to start giving service.
It is to be recalled that it has been a week since Ethiopian Airlines announced its preparation to resume flights to Tigray, and yet nothing is implemented.
Banking services too are yet to be restored almost a month into the agreement. Our reporter Haile Gabro visited a bank in Maqala and spoke with customers who say they are suffering as they remain unable to access their savings.
One of the devastating features of the ongoing siege on Tigray has been the discontinuation of banking services that has resulted in economic chaos, going on further in exacerbating the humanitarian crisis in Tigray. Nabiat Gabragargis is a branch manager of Dashin Bank in Maqala, who said that her customers are now facing hardship because they are unable to access their savings in the bank.
Following the war in Tigray, we're exposed to different socio-economic crises. We're not receiving our monthly salary. Our customers who deposited their money trusting our banks are now denied of accessing their savings. It's really awful indeed. Frankly speaking, customers with millions of deposits in our banks are now starved to death due to this situation. As bankers, we're also in plight. As a Tigrayan, I'm truly delighted about the peace agreement signed in Pretoria, South Africa in November 2nd. During the signing ceremony, I couldn't help but weep. I was so happy about it. The people of Tigray are in desperate conditions due to the shutdown of banks for over 2 years. Although we're bankers, we had no information regarding the resumption of banking services.
When people with diabetes and blood pressure come to our bank to withdraw their deposited money, we are unable to help them, at all due to the blackout, even though some of them have millions deposited in our banks. Now, we have a glimmer of hope for peace so that we have started blowing our chairs and computers. Banks must be resumed soon. It's heartbreaking to see children and women just because you can't help them. It's heartbreaking to see children and women just because you can't help them. As bank employees, we are eating a single bread for a day. Besides, it's unaffordable at this time.
On top of this, they also say that The Pretoria Peace Accord has brought them hope for an apparent resumption of banking services in the region, thereby improving the lives of many across the region.
You couldn't understand the importance of peace unless you have it lost. Currently, the peace agreement has brought us hope because resumption of services in Tigray is one of the deals. This is time to compensate our customers who have been denied of proper service.
On the other hand, bank customers in Tigray have also expressed their concerns regarding the delay of access to banking services in the region.
Basic services have been shut down for the past 2 years in Tigray. Consequently, our people have been suffering from hunger and diseases. Tigray is a region with millions of people starving due to all-encompassing siege. Following the fatal siege in Tigray, hundreds of thousands of Tigrayans are on the verge of death. Citizens are being denied of own bank savings by their own government. Now, we are hopeful, so much hopeful, by the peace agreement signed between the government of Tigray and Ethiopia. The people of Tigray have all the right to use public services. As customers, we used to save and deposit our money in banks. However, our people are troubled by the condition. We are suffering a lot, but we have money just in the bank. We therefore demand the resumption of banking service at this time.
The bankers and their customers also called on the international community to put into effect the signed agreement so that millions of people in Tigray may have hope for survival.
For sustainable peace, the agreement must be fully implemented in time. On top of this, both the negotiators and the warring parties must give due attention for the fruitfulness of the peace accord.
The discontinuation of banking services, in addition to the ongoing siege imposed on Tigray, has led to more than 6.5 million people in the region still remaining in dire need of humanitarian assistance.
Business owners state their concern regarding the implementation of the peace agreement signed earlier this month. They say a delay in the implementation is having a huge impact in their lives and many other Tigrayans who are still unable to fulfill basic needs. Meroniman reports.
During the war in Tigray, many have seen their businesses go bankrupt. Among these are Hana Gabraselassie and Askalu Hadush, who once ran a restaurant and earned steady income, now undergo bankruptcy. However, now they say that they hope the peace agreement can restore the economy, clarifying how deep of an impact the siege had caused them.
I can't communicate with my husband, who now lives outside the country. He can't even send me money. I'm in such a desperate situation at the moment, and my business has gone bankrupt. I have no means to raise my children. Hospitals have run out of medication. Therefore, we can't even get treated when we get sick. On top of this, we can't even get an ambulance service. There is no internet nor banking services. We can't get in touch with our loved ones or access our money from the banks. The siege has caused us mental and economic crisis and separated us from the rest of the world.
Despite their hopes for the prospects of peace, the women state their concerns regarding the implementation, saying that no improvements have taken place so far and the humanitarian catastrophe remains as it was.
حاليا عم بيقولوا سلام بس صار لنا 20 يوم بس حاليا ما فيش تحسن.
They've been talking about peace, but there are no improvements in our situation to this day. We still wait in suffering. We still can't access our money in the banks. We can't even buy medications.
حزز سلام زي نا سلام سممعنا تفطيرنيو ኢንተርኔት ክልቀቀዩ ባንክ ክመጽዩ መድኃኒት ከአትዩ ሰብአዊ ሓገዛት ከአትዩ ተባሂሉንዮ
We've always believed in peace. However, although they said all the basic services will be restored and all the necessary humanitarian supplies will enter Tigray, the delay of the implementation continues to gravely impact our people.
Hana and Askalu urged the international community and concerned bodies to ensure the immediate implementation of the peace agreement, considering the lives of many at stake.
ማሕበረሰብ ዓለም ይኹን ውድ ሕራት መንግስታት ነዚና ሰላም ዝተገበረ ስምምዕነት ኣብ ተግባር ንኽውዕል
It has been almost a month since the peace agreement was signed. The people in Tigray are in grave danger, especially the ones with chronic illnesses, expecting mothers and children. The international community and the UN must see the implementation of the peace agreement. Humanitarian supplies need to enter Tigray immediately.
أولاً شيء لازم تشوفنا العالم.
The world should look into our suffering. They must ensure implementation of the peace deal, like whether medication has started entering or not. They must pressurize the Ethiopian government in abiding by the agreement signed. Kidney patients say peace deal signed in Pretoria has not yet brought any changes in their lives. Our reporter spoke with Haftam Abbadi, a kidney patient in Adar Hospital, who says he is waiting for his death as hopes for the peace deal among patients get slimmer. Abil Sigab.
Haftam Abbadi has stopped visiting Adar Hospital, the only hospital in Tigray with dialysis service, as regularly as he should. Haftam came up with a decision after the hospital announced it cannot offer him the service he had been taking for over 3 years. However, Haftam rarely stops by the dialysis unit in Adar to ask whether the dialysis supplies have arrived at the gates of the hospital.
I came here to ask if the medications have entered. I was told they didn't. They say the supplies have reached Addis Ababa, but not here. I come here to the hospital every time I hear the sound of an airplane flying across the sky. We're being tormented. Time is always against dialysis patients. We still hope the medications will arrive, and our only prayer is that we do not die before it makes it here.
Haftam, who is an ICT expert by profession, looks back to his much better life just before the impulsion of the siege, despite his chronic illness and his disability to move.
I had a good life. Even if I was going to Addis for training or something, I would just go and get my dialysis service there. Whenever I was in Maqala, I came here. But since the beginning of the siege on Tigray, I can't dare call my life living. I also can't figure out how I am going to survive.
Tigray Dialysis Patients Association is an association established to ease the socio-economic challenge of dialysis patients and to create awareness of nephrology all across the region. Haftam now chairs this association as his predecessors have died from lack of dialysis treatment. He says almost all members of the association, him included, are waiting for the day they die.
Our association was founded in 2013 Ethiopian calendar to help dialysis patients economically and in other social aspects, especially members. The association is not serving the goals it was established to serve. It cannot even save the lives of its leader. We have replaced 3 chairpersons after their deaths to lack of dialysis service.
Adar Hospital Nephrology Unit said earlier this month that over 100 with acute renal failure and chronic kidney diseases have died due to the lack of dialysis service. Sister Lemlem Gorslase, head of nurses in the unit, says the unit is trying to save lives using single-use dialyzers 6 to 8 times. However, she says that it is difficult to save those who suffer from multiple chronic illnesses such as Haftam.
There are also some other diseases Haftam suffers from. In addition, he barely has money for transportation and other services he needs. He has difficulty moving around. We sometimes try to reuse the dialyzers, but it brings infections. The patients cannot resist the pain.
Haftam and his medic have also stated their reservations with regard to the international community. They both say we have not seen any improvement despite repeated call for desperately needed medical supplies.
We always call for help. Is it for lack of ability or willingness? I don't know. I call on again the government of Tigray, the federal government and the international community to give us, the dialysis patients, the attention we so deserve.
We spoke of this so many times. We will still keep asking for the medications. We have no choice but to beg. I call on the international community to put pressure on the entry of dialysis medications into Tigray.
3 weeks into the peace agreement, 3 humanitarian flights to the capital, the desperately needed dialysis medications are yet to reach the hospital.
Aid has started to trickle into Tigray, but it is yet to reach IDPs sheltering in different camps across the state. Tigray Television's Aragay Gabramkel spoke to IDPs from Western Tigray sheltering in Hawalti Secondary School in Maqala, who say life is beyond bearable as they are unable to fulfill basic necessities. Let's see the report.
This is Hawalti Secondary School, located in Maqale, capital of Tigray. Currently, the school is repurposed to shelter more than 3,000 IDPs from Western Tigray. According to Ashanafi Barha, chairperson of the IDPs, those people are still suffering from lack of basics.
Here in
Hawalti Secondary School, there are more than 3,000 IDPs, and all of them are displaced from western part of Tigray. We have been sheltered in the school for about 2 years now, and we have so far led a devastating lifestyle, as we couldn't able to get enough aid. When we first came here, the residents of Maqala used to help us, But as the siege continued to tighten, everyone has become helpless. As a result, the situation in the IDP camp has gone from bad to worse.
Kandahafti Abba, an IDP of Western Tigray, who is currently sheltered in Hawalti Secondary School, Mekelle, also says that she is leading a life of misery as she is currently separated from her children who fled to Sudan.
I'm still surviving, but I'm leading a miserable life. I'm suffering here from hunger and lack of medicine, on top of having to always miss my children who fled to Sudan. 3 of my sons left to Sudan, and the youngest is 13. I only managed to know the whereabouts of my children with the help of Red Cross, but ever since, I have no idea how they've been holding up due to the communication blackout in Tigray.
Dinke Abraha is also displaced from Kafta Humara, Western Tigray, and she says lack of medicine and sanitary materials has made life difficult for her in the IDP camp.
We've been suffering since we came here, as we couldn't be able to get enough food and medication. My condition doesn't allow me to eat whatever I can get. It forces me to be selective of my diet. So I've been through a lot of pain, and my body weight is declining each day, to a point where I faint almost every day. On top of this, there is lack of sanitary material in the IDP camp, and that has been one major challenge for me, as I'm unable to control my defecation and urine, forcing me to change clothes much more frequently.
The IDPs also call for the immediate implementation of the signed peace agreement between the governments of Ethiopia and Tigray, so they can peacefully return to their hometown and meet up with their missing family members.
I'm very delighted that both governments have reached such an agreement and making a decisive discussion. This is what I've been looking forward to, seeing many people suffer and die due to the bloody war each day.
We have a bright hope now, believing that we will benefit greatly from the peace agreement. So we hope to work and live in peace, and most of all, to meet with our children who fled to Sudan. And we also hope to send our children to school peacefully, so they can learn important things to rebuild their country.
Well, that's all for the news hour. Thank you for joining us. Bye for now.